How's it going?
Hey, good.
How's everybody SFL going?
We're excited. I'm excited. I can tell you what. I'm hoping everybody was able to catch my video last night, watching the Midnight Ride, which will soon to be some weird name next year. So not happy about that.
Still, Gary still hasn't gotten back to you.
No, and
No.
he wrote me a very beautiful email.
Oh, really?
How and how called me different names, his different name. You know how he goes, and so he just said that he will give me my name on draft night, and I said thanks.
Yeah. You know, Gary always like strikes me as like the weird, like misunderstood genius kind of way. Like he's really smart, but nobody really sees him as really that smart because of the fact that he's like really weird. Am I off base here?
Well, I mean, he is a strange one when it comes to communication. That is definitely for sure. And it's hard to get in touch with him, but when he does, he puts the effort in. I can tell you that he puts the effort in his response.
I I have Kim's name ready to go, but I'm thinking I'm gonna wait for draft night too. It seems like everybody's getting their name at draft night, so
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
so let's just get right into it. SFL, we're doing a pod, and the point of this pod is going to be we are going to go back to the very first season of when the SFL became official once we put everything in the record book and started going. So that was the 2016 season, and then I'm going to go through a brief history from 2016 all the way to 2022. And then at the end, I'm going to go look at all the proposed rule changes that Dylan sent, and then Will and I will talk about them. Sound good,
Sounds
Will?
good.
All right.
Sounds good. I'm waiting to hear it.
All right. So, 2016. This was back when we were just a very vanilla league. We still had defenses. Think it was just like a standard PPR league. We had 8 teams, um, and it was Dylan, myself, Rob, and Kim. So like that's 4 of us who are in the original, still in the league from the very beginning. Um, and the other people would be one of Dylan's friends and my friend as well, kind of, was John Hancock, his wife, Stacy Hancock. Um, we had Marvin, who played Romosexual, and we had fucking Dean, who was playing as Joe Buck Yourself. Um, so in this season, Dylan obviously clearly had the best season. If you're looking at this at all, went 12-2 that year, scored 162 points per game, which back then in our league that was a good um, score. Second place was 150 points per game. Um, and Rob also had a pretty good team. He started off really strong at the start of the season. But then in the mid-season, he started to like drift off and lose some games. By the end, he managed to pull himself back to 7-7. He made the playoffs. Him and Dylan went up in the semifinals, played each other. Um, Rob knocked Dylan out. So this is like another. This is something that you'll notice. Dylan tends to have like these good teams and then just never wins the league. Um, so he gets knocked out. Um, and then him and Marvin go to the finals, and Rob becomes the first SFL champ in 2016. So congratulations, Rob, for being the very first one. So the second season was 2017. Have you looked at any of these seasons before, by the way, Will?
Not really. I mean, I'm looking at them right now as far as just the record books and stuff like that. To get an interest. I have a league of friends of mine that I'm playing with, and we just hit 20th year or 20th year, and
Oh,
so going back to the history of all the different times we played, it's just crazy to
yeah,
think of.
yeah. That is a long time. 20 years. Wow. Um, so in 2017, we bumped up the Oh no, for 2017, we stayed at an 8-team league. John Hancock disappeared off the face of the earth, so his wife left too. And we replaced them with Holden and Kyle Daly, who are still in the league. So like that was two very long time players as well. And Marvin passed away, and Ariel and Gary co-owned a team together to take Marvin's spot. So that in the 2017 season, um, Ariel actually started off having a good team. Like we joke about Ariel being free real estate nowadays because I think once we switched to auction, he hasn't done as well as the previous seasons. But back when we were still a snake draft league, he was pretty good. He had a really good team in 2017. Um, and uh, I think I had the best. This was the year where Kareem Hunt's rookie season. He was absolutely dominating. I had Kareem Hunt and Todd Gurley, who was an absolute beast that year too. And so I had the best team. I was dominating. Um, and we faced each other in the finals, Ariel and I. And it actually came out to be a really good game. If you look at the scores of that final game, was um, 195 to 168. And I that was my first season becoming the champ. So in the second season, I was always joked around like Captain McGee, but once I had Kareem Hunt, I have a Kareem. I used to make like fancy logos for my team every season. Um, that was a great season for me. Um, Now 2017 to 2018 is we got a couple more players. So we went from an 18 team to a 10 league or 10 team league. Um, and that was when Ariel and Gary officially split up and had their own separate team. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was Gary who was more co-owning that team, and that was the reason that team was good. It wasn't so much Ariel; it was Gary behind the scenes, like telling him what to do. But that was the season where they both split up. Alex came onto the team as well, and so we must have lost somebody. Who did we lose in 2018? Oh no, because they already had a team and then they split. That's right. So we didn't lose anybody. We just added two, in a sense. Um, that's when we started changing some of the rules a little bit. None of them were too important, and that's when we had two divisions, five teams each. It was the Marvin and the Horface. Um, and this season, Holden was absolute garbage. He was just so terrible in the 2018. Look at his point difference. So he had 15,000 points, and the second worst team was like 1760. Best team was 2250, and Holden's over here at 1580. I don't know how his team was that garbage, but that was like just the worst uh, year for him. Um, this is another one of those late teams or years where Dylan had a really good team. He scored a lot of points, 2195, which is, I believe, was the third highest points per game. But he got super unlucky, so he ended up with a negative win record. It's like one of those teams that just gets beat up. It's like you last year. You got some very unlucky games last season.
I
Um,
did, yes.
yeah, so Dylan then got absolutely beat up in 2018, even though he had a good season. And then Kyle came off in the playoffs and just had an absolute banger of a playoffs. He ended up playing against Gary in the finals and won. And Kim beats me in the consolation game. So Kim gets third place. I get fourth. Didn't do a good job of defending my title. Um, and Kyle gets his first trophy. So that was big for him. And then from 2018 to 2019, that's the when we officially changed into an auction style. So our fourth season, 2019, we go to the auction style. We changed a bunch of rules. That's when we added first downs as points. I think that was like kind of the foundation for where the league is today. Like that season was those rule changes kind of are what get us to where we are today. Mostly, except because it was still a 10-team league. We lost Dean. Was with us from the very first season. We lost him, and Sean Daly, Kyle's brother, joined us. And this was also the first year of renames. So Holden officially becomes Elderly Gangbang, which he got that name changed, forced upon him, and then he embraced it and just kept it. Um, um, and he kind of like had one of those seasons where he went 9-3, but didn't score a lot of points. Like he was just absolutely luck boxing everybody. It was nuts. Um, and it's also I think the only tie in SFL history was a game of between Holden and I. That season, 2019, and Rob and Kim obviously had the best teams in the actual season. They both, uh, Kim had a 2,300 team. Rob had a 2,300 point per season team. Um, they're really good. Um, and Sean also had a on his first season with us. He had problems in the drafts where he couldn't like connect because he lived in California and he had. I think he had another draft going on at the same time as our draft. So he was like not having a good draft, which is really bad. But somehow he still ended up with a really good team. Uh, but when it comes to the when it comes to the playoffs, I just steamroll everybody on the playoffs. I just have a crazy playoff push where I'm scoring like 200 points per game. Um, and Kyle and I face each other in the finals. He is trying to become a back-to-back champ. I ruined it for him. I'm the first one to get two trophies in a row, or two trophies, two SFL wins. Kyle loses. Sean gets third, beating Holden, who didn't even deserve to be in the playoffs in the first place. I don't even know how he got to third. Absolute scrubber. Um, and then came the COVID season, 2020. That's when you joined, right?
Yeah, and that was it was I think I joined maybe like a week before the draft. If that, like it was one of those things where it was like, "Hey, would you like to join?"
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Yes." And that was to get us to 10 teams. And then all of a sudden it was like, "Hey, we added two more people."
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I remember going from 10 to 12 was of course Victor and DeHaas joined us
Mm-hmm.
in 2020. So it was four new people to come into the league because you guys lost somebody, but then we gained a bunch of people. So it was a cool entry to the league. And as you said, 2020 COVID year, we did it online, and it was fun. And we did it all through Discord, and I was able to meet everybody for the first time. So it was kind of awkward, but
Mm-hmm.
it worked out a lot. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that was a fun season. This spike. I think you switching to 12 teams is definitely the right way to go. We got Darren, who's very into the league. Victor's become very into the league, so we had good additions there. We lost Alex. They, that's when we changed. Also to the 12-team league, we went to the four divisions. I'm really excited about what Dylan's gonna. I don't know what he's gonna do with the divisions, but it seems like he's gonna plan something.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I like always, maybe as far as not randomizing it and seeing that. I hope that's what it's like. Maybe he's changing the divisions all entirely. Um, and we'll see.
Yeah, but for the actual what happened in the 2020 team, um, I had just come off my second win. I became really cocky. I renamed myself King McGee as the king of the league. Once we got to rename people, I renamed Gary to as to be my court jester. Since I was the king, I needed a jester. I renamed Gary to be Priapism Boy because he is House of Priapism, and now he was my court jester who always had an erection. And to what was it? Dylan got renamed to Hydrochloroquine.
Yeah, such. He was actually not wanting to win that year because he didn't want him the trophy.
Hydroxychloroquine Kung Flu Destroyers was what he got renamed to. Um, and who else got renamed? Oh, Ariel got renamed to Sean as my fantasy sensei because Sean got to rename
Mhm.
Ariel because he had an awful season. Um, yeah,
And that was the weird year that Holden pulled it out. He has team. I think he had so many. What he had
team
a stack.
stacked. He
Yeah,
had
he had a stack,
Josh
and
Allen, Dig
hmm
stack, I believe it was, and I think he had
yeah,
two stacks. And
I think he had Jackson and somebody else, right? Or maybe not. No, I think that's right. This was the year that we started free real estate because
hmm
that he got Jackson everybody and he lost all of his money.
yeah, he spent all Ariel spent all his money on the top guys like Christian McCaffrey and like some
Hmm.
other top players, and they all got injured, and his team was absolute garbage. It was the first
Yeah,
free real estate. Um, that was a good season. Yeah, well, I'm looking here. He had Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Stephon Diggs, and DeAndre Hopkins. So that was yeah, those were two big stacks. And actually, I remember I did a pre-draft pod for that season. I think that's when I started potting, maybe 2020. I don't remember. But I did a. I was looking at his team and I was just like, oh my god, his team's absolutely amazing. I fell in love with his team right after the draft, and yeah, he ended up crushing everybody. Uh, but yeah, we had three very competitive team, which was Holden's team, Dylan's team, and my team. We all were crushing it. Um,
I squeaked in because I had a pretty weak division, and so I was able to squeak in. But again,
with
I
six
feel
and
like in
seven
this
by winning your division, going six
Well,
and
I feel
seven.
like sometimes in this league, I've been. I mean, listen, I have not had a great record. I can tell you that, especially 2021, I didn't a great year at all. But I feel like in 2020, especially, I had one of those years like I had last year where I just got put up against the worst matchups against those weeks. In fact, I think I even lost to Ariel one week because his team went crazy, and I was one of the
I think
one
he
losses.
beat
I
me
think you
too.
were lost too,
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
you?
he beat me
Yeah.
too.
So we both lost them, and so it was just a craziness of a year. But I made it, then was eliminated before the semis, I think.
Yeah. Um, when we got to the playoffs, there Holden destroyed me. The first playoff game, and then he goes and plays Dylan in the semis and destroys him too. And then him and Darren go up on the championship game, and it was a very close game. But yeah, he managed to beat Darren, and that was when Holden became a champion with Elderly Gangbang. So now Elderly Gangbang is on the trophy, and
Hmm.
you got third place. Somehow, with a losing record, you managed to squeak your way into third place on the other side
You
of the
know,
bracket.
it was a tough year. I can tell you that.
um, so now we go on to 2021, and we did zero conferences, three divisions instead of the four divisions. So we did a little restructuring there, and that was to reduce the number of players that made it into the playoff, I believe, or did that already happen? I'm not sure.
Well, I think it was because with the amount of divisions, it was like that too many people were getting in, like myself, on a losing record, and so when we changed it to the three divisions instead of the four divisions, I think it was it allowed for the better teams to make it.
Yeah, yeah. I think it gave the top two teams buys as well, so you got a reward for playing well. which
Hmm.
in the regular season. So I think that those were good changes. Um, did we lose anybody? No, that was the
No,
season where we actually kept
yeah,
everybody.
yeah. 2020, 21, 21. We never lost anybody. Actually, sorry, no. From 2020, 2021, we did. We lost. Oh wait, that was last year. No, we didn't lose anybody.
No, that
2021 was
was
actually the same group. It was
yeah.
2022 we lost Sean.
We lost Sean. Yeah. But so yeah, from like that 2020 season, it was kind of like when we had most of us here already, which is cool. But yeah, in the 2021, yeah, we first time we actually kept everybody. Holden gets renamed to his Holden's sister loves foreskin or something.
Yeah.
Um, Gary gets renamed to 31-9 because that's the Kansas City joke.
Hmm.
Um, Kyle becomes Queen of Thorns. He missed the playoffs. And Ariel is renamed to Gariel's Poya Chapondo Konodadi Daycare.
So that was a weird name. I couldn't even say it on videos because it was
Yeah,
just crazy.
and I think Victor renamed him. Um, and then the best teams for this season, for the 21 season, we had Dylan, just 24-56, absolute crushing it. Um, I also had another really strong team that year, I think.
Yeah, you had strong teams almost every year that I've been here. Last year was probably your weakest of your three teams that I've seen.
Um, no, 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 no. 2021 was the season that I drafted McCaffrey and then he got hurt and then I got screwed over. I pulled an aerial.
Oh,
So
that's
20
right. I
yeah,
apologize. I'm looking at the wrong one. Yes,
yeah.
that was the weakest team.
Yeah, so that was when I became free real estate. Um yeah, it was Dylan, Gary, Kim, and Kyle had really good teams, but I think Kim got really unlucky. Yeah,
Yeah.
she got 24-55 scored against her. She barely missed the playoffs with a 7-7 record, even though her team was just absolutely outscoring everybody. She just somehow got really unlucky and was losing. Um,
And I think I mean I didn't have a good year, but I remember that I was like 5-4 and I lost the last five. So I was like in the playoffs, like it looked good, and then I just ended the season poorly. Probably a lot of mixing around is probably what hurt me.
and this is the year that Ariel luck boxed his way into winning a division. Look at the look
Yes.
look at him versus everybody else in his division, 21-60, and like
Hmm.
he only had 20,000 points or 2,000 points scored against him that season. Just absolute luck to box his way into winning the division.
Yeah.
Um, And then Rob, actually, this is a season Rob was 7-7. He like barely squeezed his way into the playoffs, and then he had a major playoff run, scoring like almost 200 points every game. But Kyle ended up beating him in the end in the finals, and he became the second player to get two trophies. So congratulations, Kyle, joining the two club. Um, and Gary beat Ariel for third place. I think, yeah. Now that gone over this, it is true. The first season that it was Ariel and Gary together, it wasn't Ariel. It was Gary. Gary is the reason that team was good. He's been a punching bag this entire time. I don't know what am I talking about. Um, but yeah, and then now we finish off like with the 2022 season. We made a couple of changes. The one change that I hate was the buffing quarterback running for some reason. We buffed the wide receivers. Um, and then we made some changes for the end of the year. But that's when Sean Daly decided to disappear off the face of the earth. And
Yeah.
we brought in Jordan at the very last minute because Mike the Gambler, who wanted to join this league so bad, he was talking to me and he was like, "Oh, I really want to join your league. I really want to join your league." And then the day of, he goes to Tampa, gets absolutely shit faced, and has no way to get back. so yeah, Jordan came through at the very last minute. Now, hopefully, we got our 12 forever. Hopefully.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we can get Jordan on, you know, the Discord or something for the draft so he can
Yes.
see it and everything.
Yes. Um, so the changes we got: Victor got renamed to Tijuana Donkey Show. Kim became Chalupa Vagina. Um, who else got renamed that season?
I won my way out of that one, so I think Sean was supposed to be renamed, and I think that's why it was just Jordan that came in, and he named himself.
Yeah.
Um, what was? Oh, well, that was you got renamed.
Yeah, I got renamed. I became the Musk
Yeah,
family incest baby. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, because I missed the playoffs. You missed the playoffs. You missed the playoffs, but you managed to get your
get
way out,
through it.
get through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in fact, there was a rule made that next year, which I agreed with, in not being able to pick up people if you're not in the playoffs, because I was picking up people to try to
Get out.
survive and keep my name.
Hmm.
Same thing last year, but I couldn't pick people up, and it didn't work.
Um, yeah, but so for that season, your team last year was a beast of a team. Scored a lot of points.
They did.
The third most points in the league, and somehow didn't get scored on that much, but only had a 7-7 record. Can you explain to me how that happened? Like, every time you lost was only like by like this much. Is that what was going on?
I think I'm a meddler. I can tell you that. I meddle a lot. I change things. I think of things. In fact, my wife's telling me all the time, like, stop messing with things. Like, just go with your first thing. But it was just a weird situation. Like, I lost I lost one game. I can't remember who it was, but it was just because I decided to choose this wide receiver or that wide receiver, and I
Hmm.
did it with like 30 minutes before the game started. So there was a lot of times of that, but yeah, it's just like crazy scorings that I got, especially the kickers. I got killed by kickers last year.
Oh,
Kickers were scoring
oh,
20,
oh, that's why you're so salty. That's why you want to change the
20 and
kicker
30
rules.
points.
That makes so much sense now.
These kickers keep taking me out, and I don't understand. Kickers should not be scoring that many points. Okay,
Oh,
kickers
you're
should
just
not score.
salty. You're just salty. That's all it is.
No,
That's all it is. Um, this is Kyle got absolutely bodied last season. Nobody has ever been scored this much on, like 2,600 points against. That's never happened. I don't know if it'll ever happen again. That's like nobody will ever score that many points in the season. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, we had some teams that scored close to it, but man, Kyle just got absolutely bodied. Um, what else happened last season?
only we had a tie at the very end, which
Oh
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
everybody
We'll
has.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
I would think everybody's got a rule for that, obviously, but it's such a weird circumstance to happen. And I could tell you if I was in the same situation, I'd probably go the same way with it. But as an outsider, I think the people on the field, if you choose the people and they don't play, it's like they're getting injured.
Uh,
So
no,
they
to
don't work.
me, yeah, like to me, I'm kind of like in the same boat as you, right? Like fantasy football's rules is whoever has the most points at the end of the week wins. Isn't that how it goes? You play
Yeah,
like at the end of the week,
it,
you have more
it's
points, you win
it's
the game.
bad luck. Like I had wide receivers that would go make a catch, and then they get hurt, and then
Mm-hmm.
they'd be done for the rest of the game. And
Mm-hmm.
now I got 1 point,
Yeah, what's the
or they didn't get
difference?
any points,
Like to me,
and so
there's no
that's the
difference.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
100% with you. So you barely missed off on the playoffs last year, despite having the third highest point scored. I don't know how that happens. Um, Victor missed, Jordan
I lost to
missed,
Gary at the end of the year. It was me versus Gary at the very end of the year, last
and
matchup.
you win that one. You're in, and he's out.
And again, I was 7-5, or I was 7-5, or seven. It was something crazy. Like I lost the last two games. All I had to do was win one game between Gary and somebody else, and I'm in. And I just couldn't win it.
You win that game against Gary, I think you win the championship.
Possible.
have
Well,
you
no,
looked at
I
that?
couldn't. I didn't do well in the playoffs.
I think you did well in the playoffs, didn't you?
I did okay. I had lost in the last round. My team was good last year. My team was the best team I've had as far as put together.
Yeah.
But I made a lot of mistakes I'm hoping to correct in this draft.
So the six teams that made the playoffs was myself, um, Dylan, Rob, Darren, Holden, Gary, and then you were the one that barely missed out. Um,
Which that should be my next rules. I should say go back to the 7 teams like I thought about last year. Do 7 teams with the
no,
one team getting the bye,
no,
just like the regular playoffs.
no. I'll vote no against that. I like the six teams. I like keeping it hard. Um, yeah. So when the playoff started, Darren came in absolutely gun blazing, 200 points in his first game, 180 points against me in the same semifinals. I'm still really salty because Hopkins had 10 targets and came up with 1 point that game. Like 10 targets, 1 point. How does that happen? If he had like a reasonable amount of points on 10 targets, I win the championship. Um, and on the other side of the bracket, we had Dylan had the best season coming out the regular season, and then the two players that carried his team into the season was Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts, and they both get hurt. So he's like dragging these dead body quarterbacks like Riddler into the playoffs. Um, I don't even know if he's playing two quarterbacks. If we're going to be honest, he's probably playing just a regular player on the super flex, and he's going up against Gary, and Gary just crushed like just scored 200 points in the first playoff game. So we're all thinking, okay, Gary's gonna beat Dylan. He's got nothing here. And then Gary ends up having like the most pathetic game. He had scores 120 points like that game. Dylan squeezes into the playoffs with his super beat up team. And then we get to the championship game. Both teams weren't like doing too good in the actual game, right? Like they're both in their performing. Um, and Sunday night comes in. Darren has 107 points, or after Sunday night, when Monday night starts, Darren has 107 points. Dylan has 133, and Dylan still has Joe Mixon, and Darren has Burrow, Jamar, and a kicker. So everybody thinks that Darren's going to win, right? Like we're all looking at this, we're all looking at the projected, we're all think, okay, it could be close, but we think Darren's going to take it. And the game starts, and Joe Mixon's not doing shit. Doesn't even get a first down. He's got like 10 yards or 12 yards or something. No first downs, nothing. Joe Burrow throws a bomb, gets a touchdown. Tyler Bass is kicking in field goals, and we're all like, okay, Darren's gonna win. And then the incident happens. Monday night gets postponed. The league is all like, okay, now what do we do? And I think we have a vote where we vote if they play, if the two teams play again, like if the game gets rescheduled later on in the season and they play again, then we'll take the players and give them that point. I think that's what we did.
Yeah, I
What we
think it
voted
was.
on.
Yeah,
Um, and then obviously the NFL came back, no, said they weren't going to play that game, and that's when I was ready to count Dylan because I was like, okay, he won the game. He had more points. Shit happened. The players didn't play. They didn't get to finish. Dylan wins, but yeah, that's not what people thought. People were like, nope, Darren should win because Darren was going to win, right? Like, that's what people thought. Darren was going to win, so he should win. And things went crazy. There's chaos. Dylan isn't saying anything. And the reason why I think Dylan wasn't saying anything is because he's the commissioner, right? If Dylan comes up and says something, it's the commissioner. He's in the game. If he comes and tries to defend himself, it's like, oh, the commissioner's trying to use his powers to make sure he gets the win. And Dylan's a stand-up guy, so he realizes, and he's smart too. He realizes like that appearance of what it would be, so he's not saying anything. So that's how I look at it. So I go crazy. I'm like, I have to try to defend Dylan because nobody else, like, he's not gonna do it himself. I have to. So I go put up my case. I'm awful at it. I I'm not good at talking, obviously. Um, Especially when it's in text. Fuck that. I'm terrible. Um, so I fail. Nobody agrees with me, and then the two players decide to go ahead and declare it a tie, and yeah, we have the first half champion of the leagues. We have two half champions, Darren and Dylan.
And it was warranted. I think we said it before, but I I don't like it, but at the same time, we didn't have a rule, so that's why we need a rule, and
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen. So,
we're gonna go
what
for it.
are the rules that you're seeing right now that have been proposed?
All right, let me look it up. The commission did send me a list of rules that have been proposed. Let me look it up. What were your three? Because he didn't send me yours. You
That's
looked.
fine. My three were that with the game, the players in the field play. When the game ends, the game ends. If there's a cancellation or anything like we did, it's whoever had played in the game. We count the points. There's a winner. That's it. That was rule one. Rule two was dealing with the kickers. I want to move the 30 yards to 40 yards, and then do the normal rule to morph that 10 points or whatever, 5 points, whatever they get. And then my third rule was to change passing touchdowns to six
Yeah.
because I think the rushing quarterbacks are getting way too much play. Even though I understand why, but in my leagues, other leagues I play in, they're always six.
Um. So for your first rule change, I think we have three rule changes that are in the similar vein. So your vein is the game starts, the players are locked in. If that game ends, that's where the points are. That's your rule
Yep.
change, right? That's your rule
Yeah.
proposal. Mine was my rule proposal is at the end of the week. So the end of the week would be Tuesday. So at when Tuesday starts, whatever the points are showing on your team, that's the points that you get. Whoever has the most points win. That was my proposed rule change. So it's pretty similar
It's
to,
pretty similar. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think there are some small distinctions there because let's say like games, it's a Thursday night game. Game starts for some reason. They pause the game on Thursday, and let's say they decide to pick it back up and play on Sunday. Like on your rule change, how would that work?
I would say the same thing at the end of the week. So I could change that to end of the week.
So the players would
If
still be locked in because the game started.
correct. Yeah, so they wouldn't change anything because fantasy would just carry that over
Mm-hmm.
to that point. So I think more going to what you said as far as it being just at the end of the week, that's it. We're not going to
Mm-hmm.
extend the game. We're not going to wait for a replay. Um, I think I think getting into that replay thing, like we talked about in our league rules last year, I think we need to end that. So that week is that week. And once the week is over, like you said, the week is
Yeah.
over. I don't care if the game gets replayed or what. We're not going to go back to it.
Um, the other rule change. So I'm with you. I think we're kind of the same wavelengths there for that rule change. I think we both laid out some decent points of why it should be that way. Another rule change in the same situation is if Monday Night Football game gets canceled for any reason and there are active starting players that cannot finish the game, the two SFL owners must settle the game by some sort of drinking game. I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna say no. And it's so ridiculous. Like they're on opposite sides of the country or something. You
Yeah.
know, like how
Yeah,
are
we're
we
not
gonna
doing a Zoom call that kind of
Zoom
thing.
beer pong? Like what are we doing?
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
I,
That's probably a Holden rule.
I get it. Probably. It's either Holden or Victor. You know, it's one of those two. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's yeah. I'm just gonna go say no. I think what we got. was good. So going back to your other rules, quarterback touchdowns should all be 6 points no matter what. I'm with you on that one. Um,
Mm.
well, and the third one was you want to move the kickers back, right?
Yeah.
I get it. You're salty. That's okay. The reason why I like it at 30 is because that's where the PAT is. So,
No, yeah. I mean, I understand it. I understand it. It's 3 points, but the PAT only get 2 points.
no, the PAT is
So,
three.
is it three?
I think so.
I thought it was two. Or what is it, one?
No, I think it's three. I can check.
But either way, let's say that the points. I just think that, especially last year and especially the years now, even the preseason. You watch the preseason, everyone's kicking the ball, and it's at least a 45 to 50 yard field goal every single time. So you're not seeing like 30 yarders where we used to see a lot more of those back in the day. So I just see that you're gonna have a lot of opportunities as a kicker at that time level. And I understand it's drafting and making sure you have the right people on your team, but I don't know. A kicker having 20 points when, let's say, Dak Prescott has 18 and he has 300 yards but one touchdown, I think that's just really silly.
Uh, well, if that's going to be your argument, I'm proposing some rule changes to buff quarterbacks. So quarterbacks would be scoring more points if my rule changes go through. But um,
What's your rule changes?
so my personal rule changes. So for the quarterback situation, right? 'Cause most of my like actual scoring are all around quarterbacks. So um, the main one that I want to do is I want to peg rushing and passing points, right? Because right now they're separated. I want them to be the same, right? To me, if a quarterback passes a yard or he runs a yard, it's the same exact thing. A quarterback got a yard. So that should be worth the same point regardless if he passes or if he runs it. And same thing for a touchdown. If he runs a touchdown or passes a touchdown, that's the same shit. It's the same thing. So I want to bring the rushing um, yards to go back to the passing one, which is 1 point for every 20 yards. And I want the ta- passing touchdowns to go up to 6 to match the rushing. So I want to peg them that way. Um, I want to do -3 points for an interception. So that's a -1 additional because right now it's -2. I want to do -3 for an interception for a touchdown. So if you throw an interception and that gets picked off and goes back to a touchdown, so that'll be a -3. So if a quarterback throws an interception that gets returned for a touchdown, it's the same thing as if he throws a touchdown. So it's 6 points if he throws a touchdown, -6 if it goes back for a touchdown. Um, half a point for every quarterback first down. I feel like 1 point for every 4 downs or 4 first downs is like kind of too weak and doesn't to kind of like harder to keep track of. So to half a point is better. And I think that that's the quarterback's main purpose is to pick up first downs. So buffing first downs for quarterback is I think is a good idea. And then because of that buffed first downs and the buff to touchdowns, to bring the scoring down just a little bit so it doesn't get super hyperinflated, um, -0.25 every time they get sacked. And that also adds the differentiations of players that can escape the sack. So they get that extra bonus points for the quarterbacks that can escape, move in the pocket, not get sacked. Because the quarterbacks that are getting sacked more will have more negatives against them. So it's kind of like the rule changes will bring the passing quarterbacks back to where the running quarterbacks are because Jalen Hurts got a big buff. Jalen Hurts had more points than Josh Allen. Do you think that's right? I don't think that's right. I don't think Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Josh Allen.
I mean, I felt like he had a better season, so I would have said
But
yes. I
Josh Allen
mean,
has more yards, total yards, more touchdowns.
yeah, I mean the whole thing was Allen was he didn't run as much last year as he
Exactly.
had in the past. But
But
I
total
agree.
yards, his total yards are more.
Yeah.
You know,
I
so
think for me I'd say I'm fine with a couple of them. I think the interception. I think the sack thing is interesting. I'm not sure if that's one's going to pass. I think the first down one I would probably disagree with. I don't. I think that it's much easier for a quarterback to get a first down sometimes passing than it is obviously for rushing. So I'd probably be against the passing first down. Um, and the yards themselves, like the 20 yards. But I think everything else, I think is fine. I think the 6 points for a touchdown, we're both in agreement there. I think the sack is interesting, so that it does still give the running quarterback a little push.
Hmm.
But I do think having a
But it's not
running
only
quarterback,
running quarterbacks. There are quarterbacks that don't
well,
necessarily
elusive,
run.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know,
smart quarterback.
smart, pass the ball before they get sacked, or even like a Big Ben. You just Neston wasn't really a big runner, but he managed to shrug off those sacks and keep the play alive. Um, so those are my personal rule proposals for for the quarterbacks. I have. I mean, I can go for another one of my rules. I think that's my last rule actually. Is I want to remove PPR from running backs. So right now, running backs are at half PPR, and wide receivers are at a full PPR. And I want to remove the PPR from the running backs for a couple of reasons. For one, it running backs catch these dinky passes, like these 3 yard passes. That in reality, what's the difference if they catch the 3 yard pass or they run 3 yards, right? Where wide receivers do catch further down the field passes more often. So I understand why people may want them to have PPR. But to me, the most important thing is the first down. So these wide receiver running backs that can come in and catch passes get more points for their contributions than the running backs that are more runners. So I want to bring them down to like a more equal playing field. So where it's the talent and how many yards and how many first downs they get rather than the PPR. Um, and I also feel like we buffed wide receivers a little bit too much last season, but bringing them up to full PPR. So this rule would have to come in together because if you get the running backs down while the wide receivers are already buffed, it creates a discrepancy. So this rule has to come in together if they are to come in at all. So it would have to remove PPR for running backs, and then bring the wide receiver PPR to half PPR. And because wide receivers do get catch more passes than running backs already, that half a point. That both of them are going to lose a half a point, right? So the running backs are going to lose a half a point, and the wide receivers are going to lose a half a point. But because the wide receivers get more passes, we're still buffing the wide receivers like we did last season. Does that make sense? Like the wide
In a
receivers.
way, yeah. I'd probably be against it only because I think having a running back, I think that differentiates the running backs that you can draft. So like a person like Damian Harris, right? Damian Harris is worth nothing without PPR at
Is he
all.
catching first downs? That
I
is a
mean,
that
a
is a
lot of times
question.
he'll make it into. He'll most of the times he'll be catching like a 4 or 5 yard out on a 3rd and 4, kind of
Mhm.
thing. And so because of that, he's getting that first down. That's important in the league because he only plays 3rd downs usually. Damon Harris, like
Yeah,
when he played in the Patriots,
yeah,
so he's getting those. He's usually getting a first down if he's catching the ball.
yeah.
Probably,
Which is my point. Like
I got you.
that's my thing, right? Like if you're catching a pass for a first down, dude, that needs to be deserved. That is important. But if you catch a 3 yard pass for a first down and you run a 3 yard run for a first down, why does the pass matter more? Why does the pass get more points? It's the same
Because it's
thing.
different.
But that's how I feel. Like you see, like that's how I think. Like that's you could obviously see how that's how I think with quarterback too. If you run for
Yeah,
run or pass, it's the same amount of yards. The player's doing the same thing. I don't see why
I
one
think
should be.
I think people like Kyle, probably myself too. I think that would just change their whole value system of everybody that they already have, and I think that's probably why they'll vote it down. Is because they will say, I've already put so much time into as far as like putting my draft board together of who we want. Because Kyle, he's always looking at his thing and looking at his price value as he does it. So I would see him probably saying no to that.
Yeah, which I kind of feel like that's a problem that's inherent with how we rule vote change. Because if we're going to vote for point differences to try to balance things out on the night of the draft, and people have researched for a certain thing, then they won't want to change it because it feels like they're giving up their edge,
Hmm.
if that makes
No, hundred
sense.
percent. Oh
So,
yeah, hundred
so,
percent.
so I kind of feel like that's one of the problems with us voting at the very last minute. Um, I don't know if we could vote for like point difference changes at the end of a season or like in the lull in between seasons. I think that would make more sense. Um, I guess that's something that I'll try to push for later. But enough about me and my boring rule changes. Let's go look at the other ones. Um, yeah, I just have to scroll up. Okay, so one rule: everyone pays an extra $25 for an entry fee. Each week, the highest scoring team gets $15. The highest scoring team at the end of the regular season gets the remaining $90. How do you feel about that?
I would probably vote that no, not because of anything of it. I think that's just like us doing the what is it called, the daily fantasy stuff week to week. I feel like if you want to do that, you could go in there and play for a certain amount of money and win money that way with everybody instead of it just being that, that kind of thing. Because as we have seen in many things in the history, everybody can have a lucky week, and even the highest scoring teams don't make the playoffs. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's good to get more money and be able to, but at the same time, I don't know if it's worth my $25. I feel like.
I'm kind of with you on that one. Number two, I think that would be a cool rule change before daily fantasy football exists.
Yeah.
Like before that was a thing. I think like that's more of it. But there's also like the reward of having the best week and like scoring the most points that week. I kind of see both ways, and I don't know which way I'm going to vote, to be honest with you. Um, the second rule is add a flex spot, like one more flex.
Ugh, I mean, just one more draft pick. I mean, I don't hate it, but
We go a little bit deeper, a little bit more into the weeds with the players. Maybe play more tight ends at flex.
yeah, I think that's the only problem is the tight end is it would have to be where we have to say not only is it flex, but you can only play. Well, right now we're playing tight end and flex. You can play up to two tight ends, right?
Yeah, but would that change anything? Because
I would just say that we couldn't. I wouldn't want somebody to have three tight ends in that perspective because then they have the advantage of the 1.5.
we say that, right? But like, we tried. There are a lot of teams that tried like two tight ends. It doesn't seem to work.
No,
It doesn't seem to work, right? Like because there's so much competition for that one primary tight end spot that the second tight ends are normally like coin flips. Are they gonna be okay? Are they gonna be?
true. It's true. I do think that the wide receiver, you know, depth this year is something that's huge,
Yeah.
and at the same time,
I kind of
what I
feel
think
like
is,
we're adding another wide receiver spot. I don't think
yeah,
this is a flex spot. I think we're adding another wide receiver spot. That's how I
correct.
personally look at it.
I mean, I think for me personally, I would vote no only because of the meddling. I'd meddle too much and mess it all up. So I'm gonna vote no because of my mental meddling.
hmm Um, yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like that's just adding another wide receiver spot. I mean, I kind of like going into the weeds and getting a little bit deeper. I think that could be fun too. So again, that's another rule change where I'm split. Whoever's like strongly for this is gonna have to try to sell me on it, and then if you can sell me on it on the draft, then maybe I'll vote for it. Because I really don't feel strongly either way. Another rule change here that I have that somebody's proposing: every team must start a rookie every week.
No. I vote no on that.
No.
Like this year especially, like there are some decent rookies, but it seems like this year especially that the rookies are not like other than Bijan, right? That everybody's talking about. A lot of these guys are pure backups, number three receivers. You're not seeing a number one, number two, like a Drake London, and Olave from last year. Like you don't see those guys this year comparatively from last year. They're not starters.
Hmm.
They're not number ones right away. So I think that's a little bit different. I understand it. Again, it's being very mental. It's going to that point of making it a lot harder. I just probably say no.
I kind of feel like if add a flex spot gets voted in, then I'm more likely to vote for this.
Probably, you're right.
Because now we're going in deeper, and then you can kind of play these shitty rookies. So I'm kind of there. Kind of there. I think it could be fun, but it also could not be fun. I don't know. Maybe it would be fun to try 1 year, and then if it doesn't work, vote it out. Um, but I'm with you. I'm leaning more towards no on this one. Um, let's see. Got to scroll down for some more votes. Okay. Expand playoffs to 8 teams. That's a no for me.
I would say seven, not eight.
So you'd say 7, not 8. I'm saying no. I like 6. I like when it's hard to get in. Half is
To
good.
me, the only reason I say seven is because it gives the person that was the number one point scorer the only buy
Mhm.
or best record, whatever.
Um, and then I have one more rule change, which is kicker flex. Super flex, but instead of quarterback, you can play a kicker. And now we're to this the difference between the kickers isn't that great when you're comparing 1 through 12. So that's why I feel like they don't have that too many values. Even though you do feel like they're scoring too many points, I think maybe kicker flex would be a fun thing to play around with, where we have two kickers and now there's more difference between the top kicker and the bottom kicker. There's they start having more value.
Yeah, you're not going to sell me on that one, so I'm just
Yeah.
letting you know
I, I,
because
I,
I
I'm
hate
assuming
kickers.
I'm assuming it's not gonna get passed, but it's the only way that I see kickers getting buffed. Cause like we're not gonna buff them by raising the number of points for longer field goals. Obviously, you hate that. You already don't like how it is as is, right? So if we try to buff kickers that way to make a kicker feel different from another kicker, not gonna happen. So the way that I look at it is exactly how we did it with quarterbacks, which was people thought quarterbacks in fantasy football weren't that important because you have the couple, two or three that are really good, and all the other ones are basically the same. And if you have just one quarterback, you can just pick them off the waiver wire and play them every week, and now they don't really have value. So when you add the second quarterback, now quarterback becomes the most valuable um, position in the game. Basically, I think our league does a really good job with buffing the other positions and making them closer, so it's not that bad. But um, yeah, do the same thing for kickers. That's my opinion, and then we would have kickers that actually matter. Maybe, probably not, but maybe. I think
I don't
that's
care
it.
if they matter. I don't
you
care if
just you
kickers
don't even
matter.
want them.
Don't want them.
Yeah. Let's see here. Anything happen in the group chat since we were started potting? No, nobody has added any new VOO proposals or anything. So
Okay.
I think that's all the real proposals that we've gone by.
Well, all I know is that this year is going to be interesting. I'm wondering if Dylan's going to have another strategy that he did this year with the whole team going after a team, and then trading me one part of his team for a ransom, a heavy ransom that I shouldn't have done for. That probably sunk my team a little bit, um, but I'm excited about Saturday. I know a lot of people are going to go for golfing in the morning and stuff. I'll be in the afternoon because got people in town, but I can't wait to see everybody and, enjoy the fun.
Yeah, if people want to golf in the morning, there's no way I'm gonna wake up and be able to drive there. Like
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen. When
And
I
I'm
already
excited
have
getting started a little
commitments.
earlier as well. Not only for my sanity for the next day, but also because like we can enjoy a little bit more after the draft, which will be fun.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm super psyched. We're right at that hour mark, so it's the perfect time to end it.
Perfect.
And anything else you want to say to the
No,
peeps of the
we'll see you
SFL?
on Saturday.
See you guys on Saturday. Love y'all. Goodbye.
I think that you're